Hello, this is Jill Slinker, the Director of the Student Programs of the Indiana Association of School Principals. I'm here with Marion Rutledge, who is going to give you, as new coaches especially, a good overview of the Global Issues Problem Solving Program. So welcome, Marion.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here today to share some of my experiences with the Future Problem Solving Program. Your first thought is probably, what is the Future Problem Solving Program? It was created by Dr. E. Paul Torrance in 1974. He was a professor and dean of education at the University of Georgia. He saw a need to help capable students think more creatively and critically. He chose to use the 6-step problem-solving process and have students apply that to complex issues facing society. Each year, the topics are different. They are chosen, however, from 3 basic categories: science and technology, social and political areas, business, and economics. The Global Issues Problem-Solving Team Competition is a challenging academic competition for high-ability students. It offers authentic opportunities for these students to participate by researching current global issues. Then they have a hypothetical future scene, or fuzzy, as we like to say, that it will happen at least 20 years in the future. In teams of 4, they use the 6-step process to propose their best solution. The 6 steps are: first, identify possible challenges in this issue. After that, you will select an underlying problem. This is the one that you feel has the most impact for changing the situation. From that underlying program, the team will brainstorm solution ideas. The next step, 4, is to generate criteria, which they will use to evaluate those solutions and hopefully find their best one. Using the criteria, they will rank solution ideas to find the one that comes out with the highest score, and then they will develop an action plan. How will they sell this idea for implementation? There are 3 competition levels for the team competition: junior division, grades 4 through 6, middle division, grades 7 through 9, and the senior division is for grades 10 through 12. There are several ways you could use the GIPS team competition. I began using it in a top reading group in a self-contained 6th grade classroom. I had 35 students and 8 had been identified as high ability. They had read everything in the building. I had to find some ways to meet the curriculum needs, and I just happened on an article about FPS. It was a perfect way to include nonfiction as well as problem solving, critical thinking, right inside my reading group. Another way is to incorporate it into the language arts and/or a social studies curriculum for high ability students. That's what I did second. When 6th grade moved to the middle school, I was asked to continue with FPS, not just with one group, but with the class. Finally, I moved to an extracurricular club for students who would commit for a year. And the main reason I did that is if you're in a team of 4 and somebody drops off your team, that leaves you hanging. I know some people may leave, but you're trying to stress this is a process, and we hope you're going to do it all year long.
And this is the choice, the extracurricular element of it. This is the choice that we are promoting here at Indiana Academic Competitions. We would love for everybody to do this in their classrooms, in the curriculum, but the competition piece is what we're actually sponsoring. So anything that would come to us to be evaluated or to be or to determine whether you're going to go on in competition would be from the extracurricular element.
The calendar for the year is based on the 5 topics that are chosen. All teams will study the first 3 topics and complete 3 booklets. The first 2 are practice problems. With the evaluations and feedback, the teams will learn ways that they can improve. The third problem or topic that is done is the state qualifying problem. That booklet will be evaluated, and the top teams will participate in a state bowl in the spring. First place teams at State Bowl then have a wonderful opportunity. They represent Indiana at the International Conference in June. That is held on a college campus. There are currently 42 states in our country that participate, as well as 13 other countries that come with their best teams as well. So how do you get started? Research is first. The Future Problem Solving Program International provides a list of research articles for each topic for teams, and they have links on their website that will help you get the articles. FPSPI also offers a comprehensive online publication called Readings, Research, and Resources that you can purchase. In it, you will find a topic overview, a vocabulary list with definitions, article summaries, online videos that you can view, and these are extremely helpful. It saves the teacher or coach a lot of time rather than going to the link and actually pulling up the entire article and figuring out that vocabulary list on your own. I strongly recommend that you purchase this RRR resource. Another option is the Process Pointers Plus. It is available on the FPSPI website as well, and it is $15, which is a very reasonable price for getting more ideas about FPS. Another helpful way to get information is to contact parents, local speakers, and organizations for more information on a topic. For instance, when we did bioterrorism, we went to a speaker from Eli Lilly who did exactly that. His job was to try to make sure that nothing could contaminate their products.
And we will also, here at IASP, our website for future problem solving will have links to all of this material for you from FPSPI. So if you're not sure how to find things on FPSPI, start with us, and we should be able to get you to the right space.
When the students begin research, especially on problem 1, when it's brand new, I think all students should read the overview and vocabulary. That vocabulary will sometimes have words that are similar. You kind of need to talk about those differences. Some of them are highly technical. Some are kind of unusual. And so having that definition provided for the students is very important. The next thing is the overview. In about 2 pages, the topic will be summarized, and there will be possible problems and perhaps some solutions listed. What I like to do with this is model what I'm going to have the students do later. As we read through the overview, we put a large P in the left margin next to that problem. If we find a possible solution, I have them put a capital S to the left. That helps later when we're reviewing for them to go back and say, oh, there was a great idea that I remember it was somewhere in that overview. They can find problems and solutions very quickly. Another thing for the students when they're doing research with these, as I said, I'm hoping that you're going to use the summaries. The students in problem 1 should read all of them just to get the practice in reading and annotating the research articles. I again would like for them to mark P's whenever they see a possible problem in the left margin, and an S if they spot a solution. Some of my students like to put one color, like red for problems and green for solutions. They think that helps them. Or they underline a key word with red or green to find the information quickly. When they're using laptops, they can highlight the possible problems with one color and a possible solution with another. What we're hoping they're going to do is be able to go back to the research and find the ideas they spotted in that original reading. After you have done problem 1 and your teams are established, you can have that research split into 4 equal parts. Then each team member becomes an expert on the problems, solutions, and ideas in 1/4 of the packet. What makes a successful team? The 4 main roles are listed on this slide: a good organizer, a good writer, a good idea person, and a good team player. That organizer is the bossy student, perhaps, that you've noticed in class, but that student is responsible, task-oriented, and meets deadlines easily. That person hopefully is going to be able to keep the team on task. Eventually, we do time the booklets, and you want somebody that keeps them featured on that step that they're working on and not going off topic. You need a good writer. You're going to come up with lots of ideas that need to be communicated to an evaluator. The evaluator won't know the students and will not have heard any of their discussions. If those ideas are not clear, they will not get credit for those good ideas. So a good writer is essential. The good idea person is that creative, thinking outside of the box person. Sometimes we laugh at what they come up with, but those are the ideas we need to find solutions for these problems that we're dealing with globally. And then you need the good team player. I call this the person that doesn't need to be the boss or to get the credit. This is the person who will do whatever needs to be done to make the team successful. The way I would group teams is to write each of these ideas for a team player, a role, on a large sheet of paper like 12 by 18 construction paper. So good organizer on one, then good writer, good idea person, good team player. I actually attach these sheets to the 4 walls of the room that we're in. I review the key traits with the students about what we're talking about with that good idea person, for instance, or the good team player. I really hit hard on the good team player. And then I ask the students to stand by the sign that best describes themselves. They get up, move to the 4 parts of the room. While they're there, I ask them to look around and see where people chose to stand. Their best friend may not be standing right next to them in this particular procedure. However, you will notice that there might be more grouped in one area than the other. And some students may even struggle finding which sign is the one that they are best described. Then I would have the students return to their seats and take out a sheet of paper, write their name at the top, and write down the trait that they chose to stand by in the room. Then, for your eyes only, you're not going to share this with anyone else, ask them to list 3 students they think they could work well with in FPS. And hopefully, remind them, they saw people in the different roles around the room. An option that I have used at times is to tell them that they may also write down one student they don't particularly work well with and would prefer not to be teamed with. Again, from my eyes only. They fold the papers in half. I come around and collect them, and then I start working on those teams. How do you put the teams together? Well, ideally, I think 2 girls and 2 boys is a good team. And that's because the girls and the boys look at things differently and you get more perspectives that way. However, I have had extremely successful teams with 4 girls or 4 boys. When you look at your group, sometimes it doesn't work out for either of those first 2 options. So 3 of one gender and 1 of the other can work well if you have the right, as I call, solo. I had a very successful team that had 1 girl and 3 boys. The 3 boys were wonderful idea people. She was the organizer. She was actually the older sister of 3 brothers, and she knew the role quite well. I also had a boy who was the out-of-the-box thinker who worked with 3 girls, and they made sure that his ideas got on the booklet. You're also going to notice that sometimes you don't come out evenly divisible by 4. So what are your options? A 3-person team can work. Obviously, they're going to have to do more writing in order to finish that booklet, but it can work well. For problem 1, if you had extras, I would recommend a 5-person team. That isn't good beyond the first problem, but it is good for learning this. And that way, everybody is involved still with brainstorming and writing and participating. As I mentioned earlier, it's going to take a while. I usually start with a large sheet of paper and I start trying to put the kids together according to their choices. I try to give each student at least 1 of the names he or she put on the list. It doesn't always work out. You always have some students that everybody wants to be on their team because they are such good leaders, or because they know they're a good writer and they put their names down, and obviously they can only be on one team. So I try to give them 1. Occasionally that doesn't work out and I have to have a conference. I know I've got some groupings that are coming along well, and I try to have a conference with a student that I can't give one of his choices, and we talk about, would you be able to work with, and I look for students that maybe they eat with at lunch, or I've noticed they hang together at recess. Maybe that would be a person they didn't consider the first time, and I could make that adjustment. The good news is teams can be changed after the first problem. In fact, that often happens. When you get to the second problem, you're hoping that that works. And now you're actually ready to learn about step 1, identifying challenges.
And we will continue on with that step in our next video.